Question number 5, Phil Twyford.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is for the Minister for Social Housing. Does she think there is sufficient accommodation for the homeless in Auckland, given that there are now people advertising for, and I quote, driveway and shower, unquote, rentals?
Unbelievable. The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister, there is certainly a need for more accommodation in Auckland of all types. That is affordable, family accommodation, social housing and emergency accommodation, and that is why it is so positive that the Auckland Council have signed off a unitary plan which will allow for twice as many houses to be built. With respect to emergency accommodation, the government announced $41 million in the budget to pay for more emergency housing places and new non-recoverable special needs grant to pay for emergency accommodation. This is the first time any government has directly funded emergency housing, and there's intensive work been going on for 18 months with social agencies to improve the availability and sustainability of emergency housing.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Phil Twyford.
Is this the brighter future that John Key promised, when a 25-year-old construction worker on the minimum wage cannot find affordable rental housing and is advertising to sleep in his car in someone's garden while paying rent to use the kitchen and bathroom facilities? And after 8 years in government, is he really going to blame that on Auckland Council?
Yeah, exactly. Either of those two supplementary questions, the Honourable
Well, Mr
Bill
Speaker,
English.
the construction worker has shown up to the biggest construction boom, the biggest house building program that New Zealand has ever seen. And at the age of 25, he might be one of the building and construction ITO's 10,000 apprentices. And yes, he may find it a bit tough finding accommodation in Auckland, but he'll stick with it because the opportunity for him is enormous.
Supplementary question, Phil Twyford.
Is it ambitious for New Zealand that property speculators got tax breaks of $650 million last year, while more than 42,000 people are homeless on his watch?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, there are a large number of people investing in new houses in Auckland. That is why Auckland is building more houses than ever and will for the next few years. Of course, what the member didn't point out is that the government abolishing depreciation in the 2010 tax package meant that it was around about an increase in revenue of about $1 billion that came from that measure.
Supplementary question, Phil Twyford.
When an independent study by Otago University found more than 4,000 people are living in cars, on the street or in improvised dwellings, does she think her funding of 800 places is anywhere near enough emergency housing to deal with the problem?
800 more than you.
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, as the member knows, if the government put $1 billion into emergency housing, it can't create houses just by writing out a cheque. The houses are being built rapidly now, and actually it is the responsibility of the council to ensure enough houses are built. That's what the Auckland Unitary Plan was all about. And it's unfortunate for that member that the council's decision on the unitary plan showed he'd been misleading the public, that somehow the government decided how many houses are being built. Actually, it's the council, and we support the decisions they've made because they are now enabling the biggest construction boom Auckland and the country have ever seen.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Phil Twyford.
Will he confirm that the independent hearings panel estimates that a shortfall of dwellings in Auckland of 42,000 has accumulated since his government has been in office, and that MB officials project that the shortfall in building will not be eliminated until 2030.
Again, two questions there. The Prime Minister
well,
can
Mr.
address
Speaker,
one. The Honourable Bill English.
I can't confirm the first number, and just for the members' benefit, officials' projections about what would happen in Christchurch proved to be wrong. Very wrong. They had a very negative view about what was possible and how long it would take, and due to the enormous efforts of my colleague, the Honourable Jerry Brownlee, and thousands of construction workers in Christchurch, Christchurch house prices are now flat to falling because of an extraordinary effort to build houses. And I suspect that things will unfold more rapidly in Auckland than MB officials believe is the case.
Order. Question number 6.